you're only travelling with the one spare wheel that comes with your car, you're going to still require 2 punctures to be put off the road. And the chances are one of those tyres is going to be repairable. And if you've got the equipment to take the tyre off the rim, patch it and put it back on again, you can self-recover and keep going. So what we carry with us is a thing called an R&R bead breaker. It both breaks the bead, and with tyre irons you can take the tyre off the rim and repair it, and you can also use the R&R bead breaker to put the tyre back on the rim. It is very simple, it's very small, it's a very compact device, and it weighs somewhere in the vicinity of 5 kilo. Now a rim alone weighs about 12 to 15 kilo, depending on whether it's steel or whether it's aluminium. So you're carrying less weight by carrying the equipment to repair the tyre, and you're increasing your options tenfold by doing so. And that's the luck we create for ourselves, and it gives us a hell of a lot more options and makes us a hell of a lot more self-reliant when it comes to tyres. It's really difficult to quantify, put into words, the gut-wrenching feeling that you get when you've just consumed your last spare tyre when you're in a remote part of Australia. Chris and Sean are YouTubers. They have another channel called Big Aussie Explorers, and that's precisely what happened to them. They were just embarking on the Gibb River Road. They were at the eastern end just prior to the Pentecost River, and had a tyre sidewall puncture, and which required them to swap it out to the spare tyre, and they didn't carry any further spares. So that empty feeling that you then get, what do we do now? Do we go back? Do we abandon our plans? What's going to happen? They've got another 600 kilometres of remote travelling to do without a spare, and I certainly wouldn't do it. And so you're left in that position where you just don't know what to do. They were relatively lucky because they were at the start of the track, so they had a number of options that were reasonable for them to get another tyre. But had that have happened further into the track, the anxiety would have been a lot higher, I would have imagined. And so they've graciously allowed me to put that part of the video that they made into this video to give a real-world example, practical example of what people go through when you've consumed that last tyre and you just don't know what to do. And that Chris is pretty gutted, and you can just see or hear in his voice and what he says on the video just how confidence zapping that is. And if you've got the ability and the equipment to patch that tyre, and this is a great example, then in my case, what I would do is I'd just drive to the next campsite, crack a can, and spend the first 15 or 20 minutes patching that tyre, putting it back on the rim, and then that tyre would then become my spare and I would keep going. I wouldn't take a hit to my confidence at all in relation to that, simply because I've got the ability to repair it. But in the case of most people, if you don't have the ability to repair and you're relying on just the spares that you're carrying, it can be a really big challenge.
Good morning, guys. So today's an exciting day. We're finally getting on the Gibb. We've been at El Cuestro for a few days. We haven't filmed much there because we've been there before and we kind of just wanted to have some time to ourselves. And then, so we were going to film when we got down to the Pentecost crossing, because I know you guys are going to want to see that, but we've had to stop prior.
I haven't even got to the Pentecost yet, and we've done a tyre. Like proper in the sidewall of the tyre. Like proper I don't even know how that's even possible. Like it's, yeah.
So welcome to the Gibb. Everyone said that the road is horrible and we have a flat. So apparently this end is the worst.
Worst, like my all-time biggest fear was to get a bloody tyre, nailed a tyre within the first like 15 minutes. Doesn't give me any confidence whatsoever going forward.
However, there is a grader coming our direction, so it should get better. This
yeah, but now we're down our spare tyre now, so we go another one.
Might have to drive into Kununurra and get a repair or a spare. Are you happy we're over?
Yes, with all 4 tyres.
Not 5, just 4.
No. I can't believe we blew a tyre just before that.
It was honestly like 50 metres up the road.
You could almost see the bitumen on the next hill, and that's where it comes into the Pentecost.
Typical.
Oh man.
Oh well.
Hopefully that's the worst of it, all over and done with.
Onwards and upwards to Home Valley.
Yeah.
We're all set up now. I've got a nice spot under the shade of a tree, far enough away from the playground that we can't hear them, and it's not bad. Just too bad about Chris's confidence, which has been shattered, has it not?
I'm sort of nervous, excited about the whole trip to begin with. You hear so much carnage and things that are going on and whatnot.
We've just been on the phone to the tyre stores in Kununurra, and we've been chatting with Yokohama and just seeing what we can get together, because our tyre size as well isn't exactly mainstream, so the joy.
But yeah, so this is just the very start of the gib. So we've already blown a tyre, as you probably know, which is quite daunting, but luckily we've got a few things sorted at El Questro with people we know, so we're going to get that sorted tomorrow. So that's really helpful and gives me a bit more confidence now going forward.
Alright, so this is all our gear that we use, that I cart around with us. That's a jump start, electric jump starter. So most of the other stuff in this box, this is it. So it weighs nothing, takes up very, very little space. We've got this goose stuff in here so we can fix small punctures. We have the little with like the little crochet hook thing with the rubber like licorice straps that you can do small punctures with, but that's not what this is about. You can fix those sort of punctures with on the side of the road, no problem. People have been doing it for 100 years. This stuff is a little bit different. This is to take the tyre off and patch it from the inside with these sort of gusset patches that you can buy online, and so that's the biggest one that I've got. So that'll fix a puncture, probably 1.5 inches up to nearly 2 inches, or a tear. It's got to follow the bead, so it has to go that way. So it's going to fix a hole or a tear, maybe 1.5 inches or something like that. Very much the same as a kind of a bike puncher type of deal. They're vulcanising patches, so they've got glue, sticky back. Take the patch off, rough up the surface with some sandpaper and a scraper, put a bit of adhesive on it, stick it in. You've got a little wheel that rubs it all down on the inside of the tyre, and that fixes it temporarily. It's not something that you would choose to be driving around on for the next 10 years. So we've got a little box of a heap of different size puncture vulcanising patches in there. One of the things that you'll see on the internet, on other videos and stuff about taking tyres on and off, is the importance of lubrication. Any lubrication is better than nothing. It doesn't matter what you use, as long as it provides a slipping surface. So you can use things that you will probably already have. Dishwashing soap, not the best option, but better than nothing. Hair conditioner is incredibly slippery, more slippery than shampoo. Of course, if you're going to be waiting for my conditioner and shampoo to fix your wheel, then you're probably going to be waiting a long time. The other thing they talk about on other videos and that is soap flakes, and in particular Lux flakes. But if you can find them, then you're doing better than I am, because I can't find that stuff to save me for life and money. So what I do is I just get normal soap bars, chuck it in Barb's Ninja Bullet, chop it up into little tiny granules, and that does exactly the same thing. And it smells better too, because the Lux flakes don't have a scent. So put a bit of water in there, got a little paintbrush, stick it in and run it around when you're putting the tyre on, taking the tyre off, to give it a bit of lubrication. So yeah, so there's very little weight in all of this sort of crap. This stuff here, this always less than a rim. So if I take that tyre off, strap it to the underneath of the van or put it into the back of the car, I've just saved myself about 10 kilos in weight alone. So I'm getting far better bang for my buck, having the tyre that I can take off, put back on, puncture, repair, and utilise the tyres 2, 3, 4, 5 times if need be. Not always, obviously there's occasions where this tyre is going to be absolutely decimated and you cannot use it, but that doesn't stop you from patching up the spare tyre that you put back on to replace it when it gets a puncture. So it just increases the options that are available to you. Carry around some spare valves, valve tool, some sandpaper and all that sort of crap for the inside of the tyre, but that's, you know, the actual act of repairing a puncture and all that sort of stuff is that's for another day. This is just about the equipment that we use. So what you would normally do is you would have one of these valve removal tools, take the valve out, the inside of the valve out of there, let all the air out of the tyre. Of course, if you've got a massive puncture in it, there's a big chance there's probably not going to be a lot of air in it. But this tyre's got 30 pound of pressure in it, and this tyre was our spare on the back of our van for about 6 years. So this has had 30 pound of pressure in it, and this bead has not been broken since the tyre went on about 6 years ago. So this is the kit that we use. You should have 2 tyre levers. I've got 3. I find it easier with 3. And this is the bead breaker itself. This is called an R&R bead breaker. I have no affiliation with these people. I've had this one for many years, and it's one of the originals. And they're a little bit different now to what this one is. I think now they're all cast here instead of being welded. I think this part here is new. When they originally came out, they were only for 15 and 16 inch rims. This extends it from 15 all the way up to 19 inch rim, or I think something like that. So I purchased one of these from R&R, or 4x4 Safari I think he's called. He turns up at all the caravan shows and he goes through the motions. He has done it so many friggin' times that he could just go to sleep and just keep doing it. And the tyre that he uses has been, I'm assuming, it's been on and off the rim about 10,000 times. So the ease in which he does it probably is I wouldn't say deceptive, because there's nothing deceptive about it, but it's a lot easier because that tyre's been subjected to this treatment like a heap of times. And I'll be completely honest with you, I've carried this thing around for many years when we go away, and I have never used it in anger. And I'm presuming it's one of those things where if you've got the capacity to fix something, it's not going to go wrong. The only things that go wrong is when you can't fix something. So don't take it off, obviously, where the weights are. You can flick those weights off anyway if you choose to. So this is the way it comes. I've got it set up for 16 inch rims because that's what I've got on the car and the van, so I don't have to change it. This little bolt here comes out. The beauty of this thing is that not only does it break the bead, it also helps you put the tyre back on. Now I'm sitting on a piece of firewood, and the tyre's sitting on this crappy old half busted plastic tub. So this should give you a bit of an indication on just how easy it is to do this job. Any flat surface that you can put it on, you can do it on the ground, but you know, you don't need to, so why would you? So you do that up, you have it already set up for your wheels, so you know that's on the right angle there. But if you ever get one, the instructions will tell you what to do. That's not what this is about. In my tyre kit, I have a 19mm spark plug socket wrench from a chainsaw, which I can use to break the bead, but in this case we'll do what we're supposed to do according to the good book and use a 19mm spanner. Now, as I said, this thing is supposed to generate 8 tons of pressure. I don't know whether it does, but motorbike. This has still got 30 pound of pressure in it, so it'll give you some indication of how effective this device is as far as breaking the bead goes. So what it'll do is it's going to slide across that end of the rim while it pulls itself down and pulls this end down and pushes that bead away, and it should hopefully break the bead and let the air out. Now it's not all that hard. I'm pretty sure that there's a bit of pressure on it, but I'm pretty sure that that my 15-year-old son could quite easily spin it around. So you can see that, so even with 30 pound of pressure in that tyre, it's still braking that bead without too many problems. Alright, so that part of the wheel, that part of the rim's broken, the bead's broken. So it's a matter of moving it around a little bit. Move it around over this side, put it back in, and then just do exactly the same thing. So that tyre's now off. It's now below into the well on that side. When I came home from the last trip away where I did the video on the bead breaker, and I was editing the video, I realised that for some reason the part of the video where I lift the tyre up over the rim wasn't recorded. So I don't know, maybe I deleted it or something, but anyway, so I'm back at home now, and I wanted to add this part in because I wanted to show the entire process from start to finish and just how easy every step of it was, and this is a reasonably vital step. This doesn't include the use of the bead breaker at all. So the valve inner is taken out, so there's no air in the tyre. The bead's already been broken because it was broken while we were away, so we're starting from the position where the bead's been broken and we're just going to lift the tyre off. Not both sides, so I'm not going to go through that process, but just one side, and give you an idea of just how easy it is. And that's pretty much it, really. Okay. And that's it. So that's probably the easiest part of the job, but I think it's important that I added that part in, otherwise the video seems to jump from one thing to another and it seems to have a vital part of it missing. So this is that part. Alright, we're back. The battery went flat on the camera, so we had to recharge it and had a cup of coffee. That hook's facing upwards because it's got to slide across the top of that rim in order to break the bead, which we've already done. So to put the tyre back on, the only thing you need to do is flip that hook over, put it in the same hole the other way. It's got what, 5 holes, so 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 inch rims. Put it in the same spot, in through the same hole, and it now becomes a hook on the bottom. Only do it up finger tight. None of this stuff needs to be done up with a spanner. This is the bolt that was through the middle here that just keeps that up in one piece when it's in the bag, and it's somewhere to store it as well. And now all we need to do now is need to put a bit more soap around here so everything slides in nicely. This tyre's filthy. It's better that, obviously it's better, and they say it's better to do it off the ground. It's better for your back, but it also keeps it out of the muck you don't get all the dirt and shit on the ground that's getting into your tyre and stuff. You put a bit, all the action's going to take place up this end here, so give it a bit of a bath with the soap so it'll slip around a bit. And just lift that up. And normally this would be a bit easier because the tyre will lift up, because normally the bead would have been broken on the other side. Now, so it's basically going to do exactly the same thing as it did before when it was breaking the bead, except this time it's going to push that tyre on. So this is a sort of a disaster that happens in the middle of nowhere. Pull over on the side of the road. You're camping anyway, so you set up camp, have a cup of coffee, don't rush into anything, and yeah, take your time. There's no rush. You've got the tools, you've got the capacity to do it. Well, I do, because I've got the gear. And so all we've got to do now is get that tyre back into that well on this side. So that part of it's pretty easy. So there's not a lot of pressure on that. So that's down on that side, and we want to get it down to that well, which is down the bottom of that valve. So it'll make its way down there anyway. And give it a bit of a helping hand. There you go, it's just dropped down now into that well. So we've got, you don't need a lot of pressure, so I'll just use my socket from my chainsaw, or a chainsaw. So in theory, we've taken the tyre off, patched whatever hole, whatever slash is in it or whatever we've done to it, and now we're just putting it back on. And this will become, because it's been repaired, it'll become our like secondary spare, I suppose. This is not your go-to tyre that you want to be going too far on because it's been patched. So it's like an emergency sort of a deal. Take that out, and they're just going to feed this tyre back on. You don't need a huge amount of pressure. Up the end we probably will, but at this point we don't. Bearing it, now we're still on that plastic bucket, so I'm not putting a lot of pressure on anything, otherwise the plastic bucket would snap. So let's move forward already. That's slimy soaking crap. You're supposed to go off the end of the... There you go, so it's now dropped down into there, which is pretty much where it's supposed to go. Now come back out again. Undo it, take the pressure off. It'll slide back a little bit until that hook grabs on the end there. So now all we're going to do is lift this bit off. Lift the bead breaker itself off and it'll flip that tyre on. And there you go, we're done. Tyre's back on. The spring in the tyre itself is going to hold it up against that well, and that's where it will seal. So when you put the air in it, it'll start to seal around that well because the well's inserted, the tyre's underneath it, and then it will fill up with air, and we're good to go. So there you go. Very easy, very simple. Anybody can do it. Old Nana can do it, or your 15-year-old son. I should have brought my 15-year-old son and he could have done it. Anyway, so that's what we do, and we carry it around, and it gives you the ability to recover yourself, and gives you that confidence to keep going without taking take 10 different spare tyres. You can take one, the spare that comes with your car, an extra case, and however many patches that you've got, gives you that option. So you can completely decimate one tyre, with the chances of shredding 2 tyres are fairly limited, I would think. Anyway. So yeah, this is not something that I do on a regular basis. I certainly haven't touched this thing for, I don't know, maybe 6 years, 7 years. Just lives in a bag and I carry the thing around, and the only time I've ever played with it is in the factory. I've never actually gone in the wild and had to use it. So everything that I'm doing is just straight out of the box. I'm not the guy that owns it. If you see him at the shows and stuff like that, he is super slick, and everything goes very, very smoothly. But you can see from some average Joe knucklehead camper that's pretty raw, that even with me doing it, it's still a very, very easy process, and something that is incredibly reliable, and you can put a lot of confidence in it. Very small, very lightweight, very compact, and it does everything that you would require, including breaking a bead of a tyre that's got 30 pound of pressure in it. I mean, you can't really ask, you know, more than that. It's a pretty good demonstration, really, of what this thing's capable of. So yeah, for us, it's a bit of a no-brainer. The weight and the space that it takes up in relation to how much space and weight and shit that extra spare wheels would take up, and the benefits that you get out of it, and the ability to repair tyres and be a lot more self-reliant, speaks for itself. Anyway, go and have another coffee. Cheers. Alright, bit of an afterthought. I better pump it up, otherwise someone won't believe that it's been fixed. You know what social media is like. There you go, pumped up, 25 pound, good enough. Okay, cheers.